the esophagus. Okay, so the esophagus, and now I'm going to have to switch up my models, is located posterior to the trachea. So it is behind the trachea is the esophagus. Now for all of these organs of the digestive system, there is going to be a sphincter. Another word for sphincter is also a valve, which is basically a part of the organ that's able to constrict and stop the movement of food, of substances through the tube. So the esophagus is the same. So there's going to be a sphincter that's found at the beginning and also the end of the esophagus. Now, the upper esophageal sphincter is not listed on your terms list, but the lower esophageal sphincter is. So the lower esophageal sphincter, it's also referred to as the cardiac sphincter. On here, it has it as the gastroesophageal sphincter. It's all the same thing, okay? But it is this region at the very end of the esophagus where you have muscle that's able to constrict more and basically close off that passageway so that things aren't able to move through it. Now this sphincter is physiologically relevant because occasionally things can go wrong and it should be closed off most of the time unless you actively have food pushing through it, but sometimes that doesn't happen and you can get food and substances, not really food, it's usually just the fluid from your stomach that moves back up into the esophagus. Does anyone know what that causes?
Acid reflux.
Acid reflux, yeah. So heartburn or acid reflux, it happens when the really, really highly acidic contents of your stomach move up and go through that lower esophageal sphincter when they're not supposed to. And because stomach acid is so acidic, it literally burns your esophagus and it's painful. And that's what you're feeling. So that is it basically would be marked as like where it gets cut off on these models would be where that sphincter is. All right, so I'm going to keep going with structures of the stomach, and then after that we'll do the accessory structures. All right, so food then that has gone through the esophagus down through the lower esophageal or gastroesophageal sphincter. The next location it's going to go to is into the stomach. So this right here is the stomach. It kind of sits a little bit more, most of this main part of the stomach is situated a little bit more to the left, but this is the stomach. There are different regions of the stomach that we're going to go over. So the first part of the stomach, and actually I could draw a picture for this too. It's here. I don't know why I did that so high up. Can't reach up there. Okay, maybe I shouldn't do this. This is really bad. Never attempted to draw this one before. There we go. That's not horrible. Thank you. Thank you. See the opening. There we go. All right, so there's my stomach. So the different regions of the stomach, the first part is called the cardia. So basically this very first region, if this is the lower esophageal sphincter right there where food has emptied down from the esophagus, the very first place that food is going to enter in the stomach is the cardia. So it's the very beginning of the stomach. Right near the cardia is this upper dome shape right here. This is cardia. This upper dome part of the stomach is called the fundus. So fundus is a general term that just means dome. So it's just a dome shape. We are also going to see the fundus in the uterus as well. So when we're doing reproductive anatomy, you'll see that in the uterus, the general shape of the uterus is kind of similar, where it has like the top part, it looks like a dome, and so there's also going to be a fundus for the uterus as well. But for the stomach, it's right here. So this upper dome shape is the fundus. Now the main part of the stomach is called the body. This part is the body. And then looking at the structure of the stomach, what's going to happen is it kind of turns, and so this last part is called the pylorus. And the pyloric antrum is the part of the stomach, it's kind of like where it turns. So this region, it marks the beginning of the pylorus, would be the pyloric antrum. Okay, so again, we have the body is the main part, right where it turns right here would be the antrum, and then the whole last part is the pylorus. Now, for all of these organs, there's going to be a sphincter that marks the beginning and the end of the organ. The beginning of the stomach, that sphincter is the same as the end of the sphincter for the esophagus. So the beginning is the cardiac sphincter or the lower esophageal sphincter or the gastroesophageal sphincter, all the same thing, is this sphincter here, marks the beginning of the stomach. The sphincter that is at the end of the stomach is called the pyloric sphincter. So if you're looking at the models, you can remove the part of the stomach, and if you look at the end of the stomach, you can see that at the end it kind of gets smaller and it constricts. That region where it gets smaller is the pyloric sphincter. The last structure for the stomach is found on the inside. So when you remove the stomach and you look on the inside lining of it, you can see that it's really wrinkly. These wrinkly folds inside the stomach are called rugae. Now the function for these is really to allow the stomach to expand. So what happens is when your stomach is really full, those rugae, those wrinkles will flatten out, so you wouldn't be able to see them if the stomach is completely full. But then when it's empty and the stomach shrinks back down, then it will basically create all these wrinkles, which are called the rugae. All right. So next, what we're gonna do is the accessory structures. So we're gonna move back over to the liver. So what's gonna happen is that from the stomach, the next place that we're gonna go is the small intestine. And we'll do more of the structures